Good morning, Rabotai. Welcome to Breakfast in the Class. Breakfast in the Class today are dedicated in loving memory of Marcy's mother, Arlene Pollack. Alea Shalom Lilu Nishmat, Hannah Batsara, sponsored by Marcy and Stephen Feldman. Breakfast in the Class as well is, the cold brew is dedicated in loving memory of Sammy Syed, Lilu Nishmat, Shlomo ben Rivka, by his son Isaac Syed. The pasuk says, "Ushmartem et chukotai v'et mishpatai, asher yaseh otam ha'adam v'chai bahem." And you shall guard my chukim, my statutes, v'et mishpatai, and my just laws, asher yaseh otam ha'adam, that a person does them, v'chai bahem, and he lives through them. This expression is a very interesting expression. What does the pasuk exactly mean? So I want to quote to you the words of the Or HaHaim. The Or HaHaim says on this, that when a person achieves and does the mitzvot of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with love, a person receives reward, not just in the following word, in Olam Haba, but he receives a tremendous reward in this world. So what is the pasuk trying to tell me? Ushmartem, if you guard these mitzvot, asher yaseh otam ha'adam, that a person can do them, v'chai bahem. The result is that their life, they are given life by these mitzvot. They are brought to life by these mitzvot. That is what it means, v'chai bahem, that a person lives them. Now, it's very interesting. If a person was to take a look at the specific syntax in the pasuk, you'll notice there's a little bit of a strange language. So let's look at the pasuk and see how would we construct it if we were actually writing this verse. Ushmatem et chukotai v'et mishpatai, and you will guard my laws. Asher ya'aseh otam ha'adam, that a person does them, v'chai bahem. It sounds like an interesting thing. If it's asher ya'aseh otam ha'adam, if the person's already doing them, then you don't need to tell me to guard them. They're already being done. What is this? Ushmartem, you shall guard the mitzvot, asher ya'aseh otam ha'adam, v'chai bahem. If you want to tell me as well that a person lives by them, tell me, Ushmartem et chukotai v'et mishpatai, asher chayim bahem. It almost seems like what I need to warn you about are the mitzvot that you're doing. And that's a very strange thing. If I'm doing them already, these are not the ones that I need to be told about. Like we say in the English parlance, you're preaching to the choir on those mitzvot. You don't need to talk to that. It's kind of like telling the people that are coming to Minyan, Rabotai, you really need to come to Minyan. When who are you really talking to? You're talking to all the people that are not there. But all the people that are not there are not getting the message. So what does it mean to tell people, the people who are doing the mitzvot to guard them? My friends, I'd like to communicate what this idea means through a beautiful and if somewhat painful story. There was a young man who unfortunately kind of did not really follow in the ways of his parents and the ways of his family. And although they were very connected and they were very, so this boy slowly but surely lost everything. And by the time he was ready after yeshiva, he asked his father if he would send him to some far off university where there was literally no Jews in the place. The father already understood that the kid wasn't going to get an education. If he was, there were plenty of other places in the locale where he could go. And the fact that he chose this education to be educated in this specific university of higher learning was because he was trying to run away as far as he could from literally anything Jewish whatsoever. So the father says, listen, you know what? You want to go there? You didn't want to fight with his son. He said to him, I'm happy for you to go there, but let's make a deal. I know and you know that this place is maybe not so conducive for a Jewish young man to live a Jewish life. So let's make a deal. I'll pay, I'll send you there, I'll give you whatever you need on one condition, that every day, I'm not even telling you to get up in the morning, I'm telling you every day to put on your tefillin. The boy says, of course, Dad, don't worry, I would never miss the tefillin, of course, though we have nothing to worry about. You're just being paranoid, you don't trust me. He gives the father the whole thing. The father says, okay, we have a deal, shake on it. Okay. Anyway, the boy, a little while later, maybe 2 months in, sends his father a WhatsApp message. He says, Dad, if there's any way you could send me some money, I'm running a little low, I'd really appreciate it. And the godfather says to the boy, he says, listen, I sent you to university, I sent you with money. He says, But anything you need, all you have to do is pray, and and God will provide for you. And the boy says, thank you very much, Dad. Of course, I'm gonna I'm gonna do everything I can to pray. But if there's any way, you could pay, I'll pray, and we'll have a good deal. And the father says, listen, I did everything. I'll pray. Just pray to Hashem. Back and forth, just pray. Anyway, the kid comes home after a few months. He's very angry with his father. He says, Dad, I don't understand. You sent me all this to this university. I have to, I need to, whether you like the fact that I'm praying or not, whether I'm religious enough for you or not, if I ask you for money, it's because I need money. Anyway, the father says, Rohi, come with me. Takes him to his room, opens up his suitcase, takes out the tefillin bag. Inside the tefillin bag is an open check. He says, I left this for you in the tefillin bag because we had a deal. You promised me, whether you want to be religious or not, something else. But you gave me your word. You promised me that you were going to put tefillin in it. You don't want to promise. You want to go without the promise. So don't promise me. But you promised me. Integrity is not a religious value. It's a human value. You promised me, you said, and all I said to you was pray. And you know what? Had you just kept your part of the bargain, everything that you would have needed would have been yours. You know how much money I have. You could have literally written a check for anything. I find in this something which is not just deep, but also a penetrating insight in Musar. The pasuk says, "Ushmartem et chukotai et mishpatai asher yaseh otam ha'adam." You guys promised at Har Sinai to keep my Torah. God says, "Asher yaseh otam ha'adam." Not a Jew, not asher yaseh otam ha'Yehudi, not asher yaseh otam ha'talmid chacham, but any human being keeps their word. You promised. Asher yaseh bo ha'adam v'chai b'hem, and that will be enough. You will get the beracha, you will receive the beracha if you're doing the right thing. Rabotai, a lot of times a person is trying every trick in the book to be able to make their parnasah work, to make their shidduchim work, to make their children, to turn out the best way. And the one thing, the one button that they're not activating is the most powerful button in the world, God's promise of v'chai b'hem. Now, could you imagine a father that says to his son who goes, instead of to, this son that's off in the middle of nowhere, putting a check in his tefillin bag, he puts a check in his tefillin bag. He puts a check with the Shabbat candles. He puts another check in the tzitzit drawer. He puts another check, wrapped up behind the mezuzah cases that he gave his son. In every mitzvah, there was another check, another open check from Borei Olam. God promises us, when you do my mitzvot, I'll take care of you. So when a person wants, open up the bag. You don't know which berachot are waiting for you behind each and every mitzvah. And that's what it means when we say at the end of every class, Rabbi Hananya ben Akasha HaKadosh Baruch Hu, L'zakot et Yisrael. Rabbi Hananya ben Akasha taught God wanted to give to the Jewish people. Lefikach hirba lehem Torah mitzvot. Therefore he gave them so many different opportunities, so many different chances. Cash some checks, Rabotai. Every morning, I think that's why it's such a big custom in the community to end off when we say Rabbi Hananya before Kaddish at the end, that you start your day, recognize that you have the opportunity to cash a lot of checks throughout your day. And I'm not even talking about in the world to come. I'm even talking in the world that we are in. And that's what the pasuk is telling us. Ushmartem et chukotai et mutzotai. And I think that there's another layer to this as well, my friends. And the idea is that sometimes a person is doing mitzvot. Asher yaseh otam ha'adam. I'm already doing the mitzvot. But you know what? The mitzvot that I'm doing them in a cursory manner. I'm doing them without thinking, and I'm doing them without feeling. Says the pasuk, I want you to guard chukotai vet mishpatai. I want you to guard them. I want you to guard them even if you are doing them. Sometimes a person comes to to tefillah, and they tell me, Rabbi, the praying, it's doing really well for me. I used to get up late, and now every morning I get up, I start the day right, I'm in the shul, it's like become part of my routine. The same way I go to exercise, the same way I have my lunch hour, the same way I go for a walk in Central Park, I come to the shul. You know what? I said to the guy, Rohi, I'm so happy that this is getting you to come to the shul. But the outlook is not right. It's not the correct outlook. This is not just another, rhythm that you insert into your life. It's not just another effective alarm clock. Asher ya'aseh otam ha'adam. Sometimes a person does things and they're actually not. Can I give you an example? I sit in the front of the synagogue every morning, and I notice there comes a time in the day We're in the tefillah, when there's a minhag for people to come and give tzedakah. So you watch people. They're throwing dollars into a basket. They're putting coins into a tzitzi. Right? Think for 1 second. What are you doing? This is not some sort of weird ritual where everyone comes to the front of the shul, throws money, and then walks away. You're putting money in tzedakah. Focus for 1 second and think, I'm giving charity to poor people. I am supporting Torah institutions. I'm giving money to a Bet Knesset so that tefillot should come. This is a holy act. So next time you walk past me, close your eyes for 1 second. Dachilak, please stop walking before you close your eyes, so that way you don't fall on the stairs and fall on top of me, okay? But stop for 1 second, think for 1 second, I'm giving tzedakah, and then give it. That's what it means, ushmartem et chukotai. God says, please, don't let my mitzvot and my chukim become something asher ya'aseh otam adam, that the guy does. Says the pasuk, v'chai bahem, and in that moment you should come alive. If you saw someone that was starving and you pulled a sandwich out of your pocket and you gave the guy the sandwich and the guy was like, oh my gosh. All of a sudden the guy came back to life. You'd feel so enlivened by that moment. And in truth, that is what you're doing when you give money to a Tomech Shabbat, to Tomche Shabbat. That's what you're giving money to. That's what you're doing. But we're so sometimes removed from the outcome of our deed. We're giving mitzvot and we're half dead when we're doing them. In fact, Rabotai, the way you feel when the endorphins and dopamine is released in your brain when you're on the treadmill, the way you feel when you nail that, like the game-winning shot from the corner, or you hit that reverse backhand in tennis that you've been trying to work on for 6 weeks, and you plug in the opposite end, and the guy's like, and you're like, yeah! Just once, I want to see some guy walk up, put money into the baka box, and go, yeah! Right? Just one time. I want to see v'chai bahem approach, right? I want to see, I think the closest you see to this is in the Sephardic synagogues, where the guy carries he carries the Sefer Torah, and he comes back. It's very different. Ashkenaz Shul's Modi the other day, the comedian, he was on our fundraiser, and he said, you go in Ashkenaz Shul, you lift the Sefer Torah, you close it, everyone, you walk back, everyone's like, shkoyach, 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 right? You go here, everyone, Hazaku Baruch, and the guy's taking high fives all the way back to the seat. Literally, like he just pulled a bullock 3-pointer from the corner, at the 2-second mark to keep the Knicks in it last night, and eventually go on to beat the Pelicans. You understand this? Imagine if for 1 second that's what it felt like every time you did a mitzvah. Now it can feel like that, but it takes a little bit of effort. Ushmartem. But that, Rabotai, that's actually what is happening. And I want to give you one example of a literal v'chai bahem, a literal expression of the Torah's prophetic knowledge on this mitzvah. There was a man who lived in Bnei Brak who had 14 children, yishtabach shemo, 14 kids, okay? Unbelievable. I don't know who's the biggest tzaddik in the family, the guy who needs to work to support that, or the woman who's dealing with the 14 kids. Yishtabach shemo, they're both, they have a very special place. There's a very special place in Gan Eden, okay? Now, what's it called? It's beautiful. Anyway, there's a knock at the guy's door. It's Erev Shabbat. There's a knock at his door. There's an elderly woman there. She's very old. She's very poor. She says to this man, she says, Dachilak. She probably didn't say Dachilak, it was Bnei Brak. She said, I don't know what, I'm trying to think. No, Gesundheit's not the right word. I don't know what the Yiddish word for Dachilak is. Probably, Bitte kennst du mir helfen. Please can you help me? That's probably the Dachilak. Please can you help me? She says, I don't have any chicken for Shabbat. Is there any way you could help me? You can give me some chicken for Shabbat. Anyway, the guy says, listen, I'll tell you the truth. He says, I have 2 chickens here, but I also have, we have 16 mouths to feed. And, and I buy chicken special for Shabbat. We can't buy chicken all throughout the week. I have the 2, but I need them for my family. Anyway, the woman says, look, I know you need them for your family, but she says, think of a poor old woman. I'm hungry. I don't have any chicken for Shabbat. Please, could you give me, the guy's thinking to himself, I'll give her rice. Like, I'll give her something else. What I have to give my own. But then he thinks, how embarrassed, how desperate, how dire must this woman's situation be that she's coming to me for tzedakah? Like, if I'm the address for tzedakah, she must be in a bad place. He says, you know what? I'm going to give her the chicken. And you know what? What's going to happen to her if she doesn't have it? What's going to happen to my kids if 1 week they don't have it? It'll be fine. They'll eat something else. They'll have an extra piece of challah or whatever. He goes to the freezer to take the chest freezer to take out the freezer. He opens the freezer, and what's inside the freezer next to the 2 chickens? His 3-year-old son had climbed into the freezer and was blue, almost dead in the freezer. He takes the kid, screams to his wife. They go running to the hospital. The doctors tell him by the temperature, the body temperature of the child, by the time he got there, they could tell what body temperature he was the 10 minutes before. They said if he'd been in the freezer for another couple minutes, not hours, another couple minutes, the child would have been dead. They would have lost the life of their son. Rabotai, when the Torah tells you, Tzedakah tatzil mimavet, it doesn't mean sketch. It means, it's not ya'ani tatzil mimavet. It means literally. So when the pasuk is telling you, ushmartem, be careful with my chukim, be careful with my mishpatim asher ya'aseh otam ha'adam. You know why? V'chai bahem. There are times when the fulfillment of the mitzvah will literally be the difference between life or death. And you wonder, Rabotai, a lot of times, when you have an ani and you get a little bit annoyed and you've been jabbed in the ribs 3 times already during tefillah, or they're making another fundraiser in the shul and you're like, dichit, another fundraiser, another what are they, they do every Shabbat morning in Deal in the summer, they do another drive for another yeshiva. You're like, come on, we have to get home. It's another 3 minutes. You have the whole day. Another 7 minutes. How long? How many minutes is it going to be? It's fine. Calm down. Everything will be fine. It's another opportunity. It's not that they're taking time from you. Actually, in the final analysis, they're giving you time. Because maybe it took 6 or 7 minutes from your shacharit on Shabbat. But how many minutes did it add to the end of your life? Because the tzedakah that you gave was tasil mimavet. If we looked at the mitzvot as a life-giving elixir, Rabotai, then we would do them in a completely different way. We would be enlivened by them. We would be brought to life by them. Rabotai, what mitzvah could you do today that you could make a superpowered mitzvah? Think today, what mitzvah can I do that can be superpowered? Try it for 1 week, where each day you take one mitzvah and you superpower it. I promise you'll see that not just your approach to mitzvot will change, not just your own life force will be, strengthened, but also that you will feel and that you will experience the beracha that comes with the guarding of God's mitzvot in the most beautiful possible way. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Amen ve'amen. Rabbi Chananya ben Akasha omer, Ratzah HaKadosh Baruch Hu Zechut Yisrael, לפי כך קיבל להם תורה מצוות שנאמר, אדוני חפץ למען צדקו, יגדיל תורה ואדיר, בכבוד.